thank the Friends of the Rogers Memorial Library who are responsible for funding all of our concerts. So we really appreciate particularly the Friends Board who do that for us. And to all of you who are members of the Friends, we thank you for being so generous through the years, and your contributions help make these possible. We are excited to have with us a guest who's come a number of times, and we are thrilled that he was able to come out to play for us again today. We love having him. Please welcome Solomon Eichner.
Good afternoon, my friends. This is on. Can we lower it a little? It doesn't have to be. I can pull it away from me. All right. Wow, nice to see my friends here. It's wonderful to be back up here. I've been coming to play at the Rogers for you every year since I performed in the Piano Fest in the Hamptons. That was one of the best decisions I made. It was an honor to be chosen to perform for that. I still have fond memories, like it was yesterday, performing at the Avram Theater, at the church in East Hampton. I forget, what was it called? Okay, yes, I remember that. I remember playing outside in someone's house and the huge tent set up. I couldn't tell you where that was. But it's beautiful up here. It was nice to see all of you, even with your masks on. We'll get a clap for that. Yes, it's important. There he is. My friend, hi. All right, so this is the first year that Penny is not here. My dear friend. And she told me she couldn't come today also, which was a shame. But I know she retired, and I hope she's enjoying the leisurely life, right? So thank you, Yvette. She's doing a wonderful job and organizing everything. She should get a round of applause. So I might not be counting right, but I think this is my 6th time playing for you. That might be a record, Yvette. You might have to put it down in your books. I don't know if someone has been here more than me. But it's always a pleasure to play for you. So I consider myself not just a concert pianist. I consider myself a gourmet chef because I feed your souls. So I hope you came with an empty belly, because you'll be full with all these yummy appetizers and desserts by the time you leave. Was there anyone here at my parish museum concert Friday night? Any double dippers who wanted to see another dose of Solomon? No? Yes?
I heard it was great.
Oh, it was wonderful. Yes, a very intimate setting also, about 100 people, reduced size. So my friend Louis Meisel presents me there. He's one of my sponsors, so it's very nice to be up here and do multiple things this week. I just turned 33, November 2nd. Thank you very much. 33, my God. 3 is my favorite number, so it's a special year. I'm superstitious, just like all of the great artists are. Right? Being Jewish also, you have to be superstitious. My God. If something works out, it's a miracle. It never works out, anything. All right. So what's on the menu today? All right. Bach, perfect to start out with. He's your daily bread. You need Bach. So, a little prelude. He wrote hundreds of these. And this one comes from a small book It was like an educational book that he wrote for one of his sons, Wilhelm Friedemann Bach. You know, Bach had genius sons. They're not as famous as him, but they were composers in their own right too. And they changed his style also, a little bit different. So this was a little educational piece for his son. And there's nothing after the prelude. Usually Bach writes a prelude, and what comes after the prelude? Ah, I love you guys. You're a sophisticated crowd. A fugue. Yeah, a fugue. A strict counterpoint piece. Very mathematical. Difficult. He wrote hundreds of fugues. Bach, Johann Sebastian was a genius. But this piece is just by itself. Like a little, I would consider it a labyrinth. Labyrinth, I love that word. It's like a maze. You know, in the back of churches, they have labyrinths. How would I know that? I know a lot of different things. But this is originally written for the harpsichord or the organ. I have to point that out, because in Bach's time, did not have this machinery, this heavy, big, iron cast grand piano. You know, that wasn't developed until the late classical period, 100 years later. But we're playing Bach's music on this, and it works well. So it's an arrangement, it's a transcription. There's a lot of transcriptions today on the program. So transcribing means you take the original composer's music and you orchestrate it, arrange it for your instrument. There's been transcriptions done for violin, every instrument. You know, if you want to play a different piece that was arranged for a woodwind or a singer, you write it for your own instrument. And in the Romantic period, in the 1800s in Europe, it was a tradition to arrange music. So this is arranged by Zeloty, Alexander Zeloty, who was a Russian pianist, a student of Liszt. Now that's important to know, because Liszt is the master transcriber. He beats everyone. And you're going to hear later today a transcription that he did. So he had many students, Liszt, and Zeloty was one of his students who arranged this little Bach prelude. So in the classical period, the 1700s, Christoph Gluck wrote an opera called Orpheus. And it's his most famous piece, still performed throughout the world every year. You're going to hear the famous melody from it in an arrangement, obviously, for the piano, by an Italian Zambatti. So, Gluck was not the first composer to put music to the Greek legend about Orpheus. The first composer to do that was Monteverdi in Italy in the 1500s, the Renaissance. The first opera ever written was about Orpheus. So what attracts these artists, these composers, to that story? There's been other operas written about this story of Orpheus. So, Orpheus was the most talented musician in the land, and he had this ability to control things. Just like I control your emotions during this hour. He would be able to charm people, and he thought he could tame the evil spirits and the wild beasts, so he was safe. So his wife, Eurydice, ends up in the underworld, in the Inferno, and she's stuck there for a long time. He decides finally he's going to go down and ask for her release. So an offer is presented to Orpheus. She can return with you under one circumstance. You will take the long journey back, and she's going to be behind you. You're not allowed to turn around and look at her. So, not much of an offer for him. It's pretty one-sided. It's not much of a deal. So, maybe this is his fate being tested to him. So, ultimately, this is the only option, so he agrees. So, the long journey is taken, and then at the very end, he starts to doubt and question if she's really behind me at all. Maybe he has to go back and rescue her. So, you know, as humans, we always doubt, and we have these, you know, vulnerability. So, he looks back really quickly, and she's right behind him. So she's turned to stone. So the composers know this story, this Greek myth, and they're attracted to Orpheus, a musician, this fate, good and evil, all these things that they relate to. So they put music to it. So it's obviously going to be sad music. But the most best music usually is pretty sad. Has some depth to it, deep, meaningful. So, but sublime, sad and sublime. So the famous melody from Gluck's Orpheus. So I get requests all the time to play the Clair de Lune by Debussy. And honestly, up until recently, I never played it. I never learned the piece at all. No. So last year I decided finally I was going to learn it. You know, it's something that everybody recognizes in movies and commercials and everything. It's just sublime. Just sublime. So the Moonlight, Debussy. Two nocturnes by Chopin, night pieces. He wrote 20 of these. All of them are superb. His very distinct signature. This is his piece, his style, the form, the structure. He loves this style because it's small, tight-knit, has a rounded binary form, an A section, a B section, the A returns. And it's like a prelude. All of these short pieces today have the same form, the same structure, how they're put together, like the science, the formula behind them. So in the hands of Chopin, the great Polish poet of the piano, he's able to showcase his genius with this improvisatory style, this elegant, noble singing with these embellishments and ornaments and melismas. He's always imitating the bel canto style, the Italian opera singing quality. So that's what he does with the piano. He transforms it from a percussive instrument to a lyrical vehicle. So two nocturnes. The first one, an early piece of his. Well, to say early is very relative. Do you know how long Chopin lived? Do I have his dates on there? 39. So, I mean, it's all very early, his music. But he had distinct periods. So this is from the early period. And maybe when he wrote this, he was in a very happy mood. Something was good in his life, temporarily. Because most of the time it wasn't. And then you hear the next nocturne, which is more reflective of the life that Chopin had. You know, he died from tuberculosis on Majorca, on the remote island. And if you got it then, it was, that was it. So you hear that sort of, you know, that weak and sort of frailness in his music. So the C-sharp minor one, very tragic and very just pessimistic a little, but then the ending, there's a little spark of hope. So two nocturnes, Chopin. Franz Liszt and Chopin had a very interesting relationship. Now, these two giants of the Romantic period, the giants in basically all of classical music, you know, they were born a year apart from each other, 1810 and 1811. It's like the universe came together. Yeah, it was like a miracle that they were supposed to meet together on the same planet, the same time period. So, Liszt was already a celebrity in Europe, and Chopin was not so well known when Liszt was about in his teenage years and his 20s. So he was already touring Europe and going from one woman to another in every place. I won't get into that, but I need to say it because his music is written in a way very selfishly, Mr. Liszt. So he writes all his music as his love poems to ladies. You need to know that. Just like these poets write their poems, these mushy-gushy stuff, Liszt puts it on the score. So he puts a poem above his love dream. He wrote 4 love dreams, the Liebestraum in German, and this is the most popular one you'll hear. But it's very X-rated. It's very erotic music, actually. You need to know that. It's not just this little G-rated piece. So, I won't tell more, but you'll probably recognize it. So, when I'm talking about the difference between Chopin and Liszt is immense. Day and night, their styles. So, it was Liszt who was responsible for making Chopin famous. So Chopin came over to Paris, where Liszt was, concertizing, and Chopin was from Warsaw, and Liszt introduced him to everyone. So Liszt, this is Mr. Liszt, one of his most popular pieces, The Love Dream. now we go to hear that transcription by Liszt. So you get to see how Liszt takes something that's not his own. He steals it a little, does a little theft. Selfishly again. Why does he take this already beautiful piece by Schumann, which is perfect on its own, and then he turns it and makes it into this, like instead of a two-arm person, he gives it like 10 arms, like an octopus. So originally, why does he do that? To show off. He was a showman, because he had monster technique from the devil, straight from the devil. He made a deal with the devil to have this unlimited technique. I don't know what for the trade-off was, but he had a pretty long life, actually, Liszt, compared to the other composers. So he did a lot of sinning, plenty, and then at the end of his life, maybe he was repenting for all the sins he did, and he became a priest. I don't know how the church invited him or allowed him to be a priest, but he did. You should read his bio. It's bipolar. But that's why we have such great music from him. Simple, normal people, you can't have music like this. It's not possible. Yeah. So Schumann was also bipolar. Really, he was medically considered bipolar. He had two distinct personalities, and he talks about them all the time in his bio. Florestan and Eusebius, these two mythological characters. I forget, it was based on I think an old German fairy tales. And Schumann, he tried to kill himself. He tried to throw himself in the Rhine River. He went through really a terrible depression. And then also these bursts of joy and just full of, happiness at times. So you hear that in his music, these two bipolar sides. So this piece is called The Dedication for his wife, Clara Schumann, who was very famous pianist. And it's originally a song, an art song. In German, it's called a Lieder. So I've played it as the accompaniment with a singer singing the beautiful melody line. And it works perfectly like that. But then Liszt knew this piece, and they knew each other the same time period in the 1800s. So Liszt would take bigger pieces. He would take an hour-long Beethoven symphony that was just played for the first time at a concert hall. So imagine this. Liszt was, I don't know, in his 20s or 30s. He would go to the concert hall in town. He would hear an orchestra play a Beethoven symphony, which was just composed also at the same time. And he would come back and he'd be able to play on the piano it completely back from his memory. So he would transcribe things like these for people to play. So we have all 9 Beethoven symphonies for a one person with 2 hands to play, to attempt to play, I must say. So a piece like this, a little song by Schumann, is nothing for Liszt to transcribe. But for us performers, it is difficult stuff. So nothing to shy about. So the Dedication by Schumann, arranged by Liszt. next two pieces are very short, but not sweet. I don't give myself any room to breathe, never. If Yvette, when I was warming up, she asked me, aren't you tired? You've been playing concerts every day. I say, I have 10 Olympic athletes here, and they don't get tired. They're trained like a racehorse, you know? So no sleep for the weary. The jazz prelude, just a little fun piece by Nikolai Kapustin, who passed away actually last year from this damn pandemic, apocalypse thing. Yeah, it was really awful. He was an elderly fellow, but composing up until the end, every day, these little virtuosic pieces, so awful. But this is very popular, his compositions for classical pianists nowadays. So it's a little variety. And then we turn to Tchaikovsky, The Dance of the Four Swans, perfect for the holiday here for you, in an arrangement by Earl Wild. Rachmaninoff. So I've had people ask me many times, is Rachmaninoff Jewish? And the answer is no, he's not. So I play him though anyways, you see? All the composers are non-Jews. I won't. I won't. So, you need to know a little bit about Rachmaninoff's physical anatomy. He was 6'5". Okay, anyone here 6'5"? I didn't think so. So in the late 1800s, a 6'5" man. Okay, and both of his hands were baseball gloves. So he was born with a gift already. He was destined to either be a concert pianist or a basketball player. So we're grateful that he chose the right path, right? So his hands could reach almost 2 octaves. So that's why all of his music is so demanding, extra large, with these huge stretches, these depth of sound that no composer writes music like. He's always trying to imitate, I say, an 80-person orchestra. That's what he was going for, this big orchestral sound, not the little tiny sound. So, 4 pieces today. The Lilacs. This is a little gem of a piece. Well, I have to tell you the story about the Lilacs. So, one day he was playing a concert. He goes out to the stage right before he's about to perform, and he sees a bouquet of lilacs right next to the leg of the piano. Some secret admirer, a lady. And he thought it was such a beautiful gesture. So after that, he decided, everywhere I play, there has to be a bouquet of lilacs at the piano. So I guess maybe this is one of the pieces he wrote inspired by that. You can imagine the flowers swaying in the wind. It almost sounds a little Asian, Oriental influence. And then the vocalese. This is a piece that really is originally for the voice and the piano accompaniment, so it's an arrangement and transcription today. Sublime melody he wrote, very sad though. And then 2 preludes. So he loves writing preludes also. He wrote 23 preludes. They're all a tour de force, extreme, push to the limits. So 2 contrasting ones. The slow D major, very lush theme and variations. And then contrast, this extreme rhythmic energy, with this precision for the military march prelude. So 4 pieces by Rachmaninoff.
I thought
Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't think I have anything left for an encore. Let's leave it to that. You're on a high up here. All right. So, thank you again. Nice to play for all of you. We need in the world, humanity. If we don't have the arts, we have nothing. Nothing. Remember that. It's right here. This is all we need. All right, thank you again.